Hi, and welcome to my live stream for the 23rd of the month of Elul. We are, excuse me, we are now 1 week from Rosh Hashanah, which starts Monday night. Rosh Hashanah, as many of you know, is the birthday of the world. It's really the birthday of man. The creation process starts on the 25th of this month, historically, so 2 days from now. We'll start that with Let There Be Light, and then going through the 6 days of creation. In the afternoon of the sixth day, man was created, man, woman, our forebears, our prototype, our core soul. And every year on Rosh Hashanah, that process, the energy of that process is recreated. So even if you're already familiar with the mystical Torah around this event, I think it's crucially important that we focus on it. You know, it's always about the perception. Our perception, our perspective, literally is most of what we experience. Kabbalah Hasidus talks about the question, the contradiction between the fact that God says, Ani Havaya Lo Shanisi, I am God, I am the all-powerful, all-being creator, and I don't change. Like there's nothing that could be added or subtracted from all there is. And yet we have this world, and how does that work? And we have all these people, you know, almost 8 billion, and we have all our different perspectives, even our own perspective shifting from moment to moment. So the core nature of creation, we're taught, is the ability to have a perspective. That is not the ultimate truth. As we go through these climactic, historical, destiny-focused times, a huge part, probably the hugest part of what we're being called upon to do, what's necessary for us to make the shift into a new era, a new dimension, a new way of being, a blessed divine world, a safe, beautiful, thriving, abundant, eternal world in this physical space, in our bodies. We're meant to take our bodies into that world. That's where it will be experienced, a new perception. So changing the perception for each of us and for collectively, and all the wiring that goes with it, and then the behaviors that come out of that, the thought, speech, and actions that come out of that, that is the key. That's the pivot point. That's our job. Nobody else can do it. Nobody else can change your perception and your perspective and everything that aligns with that, except for you, only you. Now, we can get together and support each other in doing that. That's a big part of what the Gate of Unity is all about. We can, give each other feedback and insights. We can share wisdom with each other. We can collaborate in groups. That's what the Empowered Prayer Project is about. And if you want to be part of that or check it out, please sign up at I didn't start the scroll bar. At the bar, in the bar that's scrolling beneath this video. You have the link to that. Okay, but bottom line is, it's all about changing our perspective, our way of being. Now, here's another secret, Kabbalah secret. When something exists, this bottle of electrolyte water exists, it's a certain size, it's a certain shape, it's a certain weight, it's a certain color, it's made up of certain chemical composition, and it is what it is, and it's not what it's not what it's not, and that's the nature of everything in the physical universe, including our bodies, including our identities, even though they're not physical. Our identity, the way that we think of ourselves and each other is, I'm this, I'm not that, I'm good at this, I'm bad at that, you're stupid, you're smart, you're good, you're bad. Everything is black and white. Everything is dimension, boundaries, separate. So to change from that state of solid separateness, in Kabbalah it's called yesh, to another state of a different level of solid separateness, or solid non-separate, a different level, to change from one solid state to a completely different state, there needs to be a decomposition in between, or a meltdown. Again, Kabbalistically, it's called an ayin. So between every yesh and a very different yesh, there has to be an ayin in between. What does this mean? Like you plant a seed. A seed is a potential oak tree, right? Or a potential, blueberry bush or tomato plant. That seed is a yesh. It's got a size, a weight, a color, qualities. When you put it in the ground, it doesn't turn into an oak tree. It disintegrates. It loses its form. It loses all of those things that describe it. And what it retains is the field of energy and information that surrounds it, that then gives instruction to the earth of how to grow that seed into an oak tree that never existed before. So even though you sometimes have like the little remaining shell of the seed stuck to the roots, the seed itself, everything about it has disintegrated and turned into instructions for the earth. And this is basically the same idea that I've been talking about of the metamorphosis of the caterpillar that melts down. Its previous form completely disintegrates and dissolves. What remains? The instructions for the higher order organism. Now, those instructions in the case of the caterpillar are contained within the caterpillar butterfly. It's not the earth, but it's the field still directs that caterpillar melted down substance to form into a butterfly. Same thing is true for us. We are in a process where we are being pushed, encouraged, begged, taught, advised, forced to melt down. What does that mean? Everything that we thought we knew, the world we thought we knew, the predictability that we thought we had, the future that we was repetitive, that we knew we could count on, all of that is breaking down. Even our perception of what's real and what's not real is being challenged. And we see that people are in very, very diverse groups, sometimes very hostile groups even. This one has this perspective, that one has that perspective. Each one knows that their perspective is the absolute truth. And there's not even a connection. Talk about separateness, talk about separate and alone. So this is a divine process. That is what I'm here to tell you again and again and again. It's part of the evolution of humanity. It's part of the metamorphosis that isn't a long-term thing. It's already been long-term. Now we're at the point where, once it happens, once the shell breaks down enough, there is that moment when the chicken's head emerges from the shell, and now it's like, and then the shell is off, and there's the start of a new life. Same with the caterpillar metamorphosis. The final, in the reconstitution, the final thing is that the butterfly has to squeeze its way out, getting the liquid out of its wings so that it can fly, acquires new powers. I mean, these are metaphors, but you guys, they're so real. This is what's happening. And we need to understand what's happening so that we can align with it. Because we're not a bottle of electrolyte water. We're not a caterpillar. We're not a seed. We're not a chicken. We are conscious beings, humans, B'nai Adam, the descendants of Adam, B'nai Adam, the prototype, the microcosm of all of creation, the primordial blueprint for creation. Just sharing this in Kabbalah is called the supernal Adam. It is Adam. It is man. Okay, that is the most primordial of all of the worlds. That creates a blueprint for the entire world. The world, in other words, is a macrocosm. The cosmos, the multiverse, is a macrocosm of every human being, of you. And everything in the universe is made up of God being, God energy, God presence, God being is really the right way to say it. God, and then a form, a structure. So that infinite divine potential that is always, 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 it's Adam Kadmon, by the way, if you want to know the technical term, the primordial blueprint for man, but it doesn't only mean man. The entire multiverse is a giant man. And then that's replicated in the first man, the original man, Adam, who was Adam Eve, who was male and female, and then it's replicated in a level of a cell of that cosmic body of the original man is each of us. And it's very, very interesting also. Kabbalah is kind of mind-boggling. It forces the mind to open and see beyond linear into the paradox, which is part of the meltdown. The meltdown doesn't have to be scary and disappearing. The meltdown can be shifting, changing, and opening. And that's really what I would like to promote and support and experience: shifting, changing, and opening, learning the deeper Torah, working with it, learning to align with the process, understanding what's going on. That already opens and shifts the mind. That already melts down the previous identity and beliefs and way of thinking. And then it can be consciously, cooperatively, even joyfully and wondrously reconstituted as the higher form of man. So each of us, in doing that, and it doesn't take so many, this is another one of the big secrets. The Rebbe talked about how this process needs to be facilitated and brought to its conclusion by 10 stubborn people, or then he said 1 or 2 or 3. which will know what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. And the reason that one person truly can change the world, and we see throughout history that one person and their intense focus, whether it's for the good or unfortunately very often for the non-good, that one person can generate, like a homeopathic, but remedy or vibration can generate a change in the system until they collect a tremendous amount of force, energy, followers, etc., that literally impacts the world in irrevocable, massive ways. So when we are aligned with the divine process that's happening anyway, this metamorphosis, how much more so are we empowered? One person truly digging into this process, truly aligning with this process, learning the mystical Torah secrets about it, practicing the extremely profound and powerful tools, activating prayer in this, I suggest being part of the Empowered Prayer Project. I'm not going to focus on it today, but it's such a huge shift in direction. Will help so much individually and in small groups and for the collective and for the world. But one person, because each of us is literally a microcosm, we're created in the image of God. What is the image of God? God is everything. God is not only the center of everything, God is everything. God is the ultimate matrix in which everything exists. So each person is created in that image. You have that power latently because you are a spark of the divine in a costume, in a body, in an identity, in a world, in a life. And the deeper you connect with what's really true about you, what's really true about this universe, the more powerfully you connect and align. That means you have to train your mind. You have to nurture your mind with information that transforms, that illuminates, that activates, that brings out your superpowers, and you have those, that brings out miracles. That's what the Gated Unity is all about. All my work is only about that. All my life is about that. Okay? Because we got to bring it home, you guys. Got to bring it home. And in order to bring it home, we have to get ourselves out of the field of fear and separation and judgment and isolation and victim, and into the field of co-creation and connection and channeling, like being channels for this new divine energy that's coming in, and alignment. And it's really that simple. And it's so difficult because we are used to being the way that we're used to being. We're used to seeing things the way we're used to seeing them. We're used to seeing others and being seen by others the way we're used to, the way we've been trained. And then we have, this tremendous, tremendous pressure coming from all sides, basically designed to get us scared of something and to be blaming someone and to feel alone and helpless. No, 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 no. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You don't have to give into that. You have a choice. You have a choice. And I and everyone who is part of our, growing community is here to facilitate and to support a different choice, a different way. Okay, so I want to now quickly share the rest of what I want to share today. I know everybody's busy, but I want to just say again, we are 1 week from Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, a new energy comes into the world. God recreates. He rises up above. Kabbalah describes this. He rises up above to a state that's called dormita, like a sleep, like a trance. Of course, God's not falling asleep. God is bringing creation into being at every instant. But the old way, the old pattern, the history, the past, it rises up to source. It melts down, in other words, or it melts up. And it's up to us, likewise. Throughout the month of Elul, we're meant to look at where we went wrong, what we did do, what we didn't do, that isn't favorable to what we truly want. And we're meant to do as much as we can to get ourselves in a position to be the vessel, to be the channel, to be the receiver for what we do truly want. What do you really want? What do you really want? I'm asking you. And I want you to share it on the chat. I want to see what you really want. What do you really want? You want peace? You want love? You want prosperity? You want truth? What do you want? What do you want? You care? Like, I think we all have to ask ourselves those questions. What do you want? And then what is it that you have to do if you are going to be the intermediary, either blocking out what you want or bringing it in? If you're going to shift from recreating the past to opening to a new future, what changes do you have to make in your beliefs, in the thoughts that you entertain, in the words you speak, in the actions you take? How do you get aligned with what you want? And that is the mission for this remaining week of Elul, so that when Rosh Hashanah comes and God rises into that state of melt up, dormita, and then in the morning, Jews around the world blow the shofar, and pray, verses of what's called Malchus, crowning the king. We're requesting that God come into our world in a new way. Now, this is a ritual and a mitzvah and a holiday for the Jewish people, but Rosh Hashanah is for everyone. I keep saying that the Torah is for everyone. God is for everyone. Geula, redemption, is for everyone. Everyone who is here, you're here, you have a role to play. And only you can play that role. You want to play it or not, that's your free choice. I'm encouraging you to say yes, because we're all in it together. It's a serious thing. You know that story about the three people in a rowboat. Rowboats have different sections, and the rowboat's taking on water, and the two people in the front are what the heck, and they're bailing and bailing and bailing the water, and it's coming in fast, and then they turn around to see what the third person's doing, and he's drilling a hole in the boat, and they're like, why are you drilling a hole in our boat? And he's like, mind your own business, this is my section of the boat. Okay, needs no explanation. We're all in it together. So what do you want? What new world do you want to bring down? What do you have to do in order to not believe that what I'm saying is true, but allow for that possibility and step into it? What do you have to do? I mean, the perk is that you get to change your life. You change your thoughts. You up-level everything just by being in this process. But we can do more than that as well. Okay? So I want to just talk really briefly about chaos and metastability. I talked about the meltdown. I hope it's getting really clear that the chaos, the disintegration of the seed, the breaking through of the shell, the meltdown of the caterpillar, it's an essential part of the process. It's essential to change from one yesh, from one state of being to another very different one. That's exile and redemption. It doesn't happen like exile gets better and better and better and better. It doesn't happen like the caterpillar gets, more and more and more able to fly, and then all of a sudden it just takes off. No. Because a huge quantum state change requires the meltdown. It requires going back into ayin, or chaos. That's what we're seeing in the world. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is metastability, and I want to give a little update on where I am. Maybe I should have done this first. But my husband and I left Israel, actually with one of our daughters who's back in Israel now, on March 8th, because we have new baby grandchildren that we had never seen, and we have slightly older baby grandchildren that we hadn't seen much or for a very long time. And our children, and, it had been almost 2 years since we saw a lot of our family and since we were here. So we came, and it was a difficult time when Israel had closed the borders and all kinds of flights were being canceled. And there were all kinds of regulations and testing and so forth that had to be done. But we landed here, and we rented a car, and we went to visit the newest newborn in the Chicago area, and that we landed in New York, went to Pennsylvania to visit a family, children and babies, and then to Chicago. Then we went to Florida, and we were there for Passover, there for a few months. We accomplished a lot there in terms of our own process and regaining our energy. We had a very traumatic, crisis-laden year, not even talking about the whole thing that the whole world's going through, but just on a personal level. So one of our purposes in being here was to refresh and to renew and to get, alternative healing support that we couldn't get so readily where we were. And we've been doing all that and working, in between. I'd like to get to more consistency. It's one of my biggest challenges and one of my biggest intentions. So I think it's really important for us to show up for each other in a reliable way, in a predictable, consistent way as much as we can within our limits. But anyway, we've been nomads. And we're back in the Chicago area. We're going to the New York area for Rosh Hashanah, and then. So it's basically almost 6 months that we've been kind of carrying around our office, our kitchen, our bedroom, our bathroom, our outside furniture, and everything else in a car. So at first I found it very disconcerting, and I kept telling myself the story that there's something wrong with this. And that how can I build what I want to build, and how can I offer to the world what I want to offer, and how can I even take care of myself in the way that I want to when we're constantly on the move, packing, unpacking, loading, reloading. And then after starting, let's say a month ago or so, maybe a little more, I actually was in a very bad mood. I was in the hotel that I'm in now, in between here and now. Then and now I've been in Utah and all the states in between in 2 directions. I saw buffalo, amazing buffalo in South Dakota, which I've been praying to see a buffalo herd for 5 years, and I saw hundreds of buffaloes. Amazing. But anyway, I was at a low point. I was in a bad mood, and I was in the pool area, and I was going to go swimming, and I was just to be honest, as pitching to myself, what's wrong with you? Why are you moving so much? Can't you get stable? Nobody can succeed like this. And I was irritated with my husband, and I was not present, and I didn't see, and it was all divine providence that my flip-flop had gotten caught in underneath the towel rack. So when I went to move, that was my left leg. When I went to move my right leg, my left flip-flop didn't respond, and it twisted my foot. And now my feet were far apart, and I lost my balance, and I fell on the concrete floor, and I landed on my hand, and I scraped my knee, but that wasn't such a big issue. But anyway, thank God I didn't break bones, but I didn't know whether I had or not. And my hand got really swollen, and my fingers got super stiff for days. When we're driving to Utah, I couldn't move my hand, and I ended up going to the ER. Bottom line, though, for some reason, immediately when that happened, I thought to myself, this is homeopathic. Now, I don't know, meaning that the negative stimulus, that small negative stimulus can catalyze. That's how homeopathy works, can catalyze a process of healing on a deep level. I'm like, you have to stop complaining. You have to stop resisting what is. You have to stop judging and beating yourself up for the choices that you are making for good reasons. You have to learn to go with the flow. There are all kinds of prototypes for this, by the way, in the Torah and the Bible. When the Jews left Egypt, they did not go directly to Israel, which was a journey of just a few months, even on foot. They actually wandered for 40 years in the desert. They made 42 journeys. How come? Because the process of moving from place to place, there's other prototypes for this where Avram Avinu was told, Lech Lecha, leave your father's house, the land where you were born, and go to the place where I will show you. And God didn't say, go from there on the map, straight to there on the map. No, it's like, I'm going to take you in a process. And in each place where you go, you might not know it, you might know some of it, but you're going to have transformations level after level. That's the point I'm bringing out. That's what my life seems to be reflecting and expressing right now. So I think it's one of the many reasons, some which I can see and some which I cannot see, is that I'm meant to bring this idea to you, that in the process of meltdown and reconstitution, there is a central place where we are learning our lessons and making our corrections, like whether it's in the cocoon or whether it's in the pecking the egg process or whether it's in the birth canal or whatever metaphors you want to use. But instead of stability, our stability is breaking down, right? This is going to be my final thought for this live, so don't worry. I'm aiming to create 2-minute videos or 15-second videos, so pray for me for that. Anyway, this isn't one of those. So we are meant to be in a place of development where we progressively let go of all the things we thought we needed, of all the ways we think we thought things needed to be, because we are being pulled apart from those, like the caterpillar is, like the baby in the womb, like, metaphor after metaphor, because that's what it takes, because we need to go into the ayin, into the unbounded state in order to reconstitute and show up in a new, vastly deepened, expanded, miraculous state. That's really what's happening here. So the process in between involves two pieces. One is the uprooting from the stability that we thought we could hold on to and depend upon. And that's very uncomfortable. It's a lot more uncomfortable if you resist it and if you don't understand it. A lot more comfortable if you do understand it. You learn to align with it. It can even be joyous and fun more and more. That's the truth. I'm not here to lie to you. That's the truth. But we are reconstituting not as another solid, stuck creature of a different level, but think about the caterpillar butterfly. Think about all of these metaphors. Take an entity that needs to be very limited in its time of initial growth, and then it has a meltdown or a breakdown or a constriction, depending on which metaphor you're looking at, and then it comes out as a completely new entity with different powers, new powers. The butterfly has powers that the caterpillar can't even imagine, right? Likewise, a human that is now out of the womb that can grow in order to be a world changer, a divine experiencer, a healer, a teacher, whatever, wise, grown, mature, that is infinitely different realm than the development in the womb. Likewise here, we are moving from a realm of existence which is very, very limited. We call it the human condition. We call it the laws of nature. And that is breaking down. Why? So that we can reconstitute into a far more miraculous realm. That miraculous realm is much more like the butterfly. I asked a bunch of people, on a call the other day, who here is experiencing powers that you did not know you had before? And pretty much everyone said yes. What are those powers? Intuition, the ability to heal with your thoughts or prayers, um, inspiration, the ability to see energy, to feel people's energy at a distance, all kinds of things. I'm curious if you're experiencing opening up of powers. I'd love to hear you. I'd love to see you comment. Yes, in general, like, comment, share these videos. I think I'm being throttled by Facebook, and I can't do much about that. But if you share, if you like, it will help, assuming you do like and you think it's worth sharing. And I want to know what you think. Are you experiencing the awakening of new powers? Because we are experiencing, simultaneous with the meltdown, with the chaos, with the disintegration, we're experiencing a rising of our new wings, our new colors, our new destiny. It's starting to come in, just drops, just sparkles. There's so much, so much more. But when we recognize it, we lean into it, we understand what the process is. In general, rather than looking at, sometimes you have to, but rather than focusing on the meltdown and resisting it, we want to look at where we're going and align with it. And that brings me to the concept of metastability. Last thing I want to say here, I've talked about this before. As we let go, as we are being uprooted, whether it's with our agreement or without, of the stable, stuck identity, the predictability, whether it's about ourselves, the people in our lives, the world around us, what we know to be the truth that maybe isn't the truth, as we are experiencing that shake up and wake up and uprooting, we are being invited to move into a new way of being around the process, a new way of being around the process that I will call metastability. So instead of hanging on to the predictable, instead of being in one place and just building there, barricading there, we are being invited to move. Now, I'm moving around physically. Not everybody's going to be doing that right now, but we all are invited and actually called upon, in many ways forced, even if we don't align with it willingly, to move our consciousness, to move our beliefs, to move our to move our habits, to move our actions, to move our choices in a way that corresponds more and more and more and more with our destiny, with the new light, with the new powers, with the new reality, the divine world that's coming in. And to do that, you have to be metastable. In other words, it's not just one move from A place in between, now I'm in B or C. No, it's changing the nature of your nature so that you are a person who is constantly fluid, more and more fluid, not a solid anymore. Changing the nature of nature to be a fluid, not a solid. Okay, now we know that ice is a solid, it's rigid, it can crack when you move something from its, when you move it from its place or step on it or whatever, it gets destroyed. When you melt it, meaning you raise the vibration, literally, the molecules are vibrating faster. Now it flows. When you raise the vibration even faster, it becomes miraculous. It can be in more than one space at once. It becomes a gas. Kind of like that with you. So the only question is, are you going to say yes to this and align with it and have it be miraculous? Or are you going to say no to this and have it happen anyway, but in a way that cracks? That's really the only options that we have. Obviously, there are more details to each of those, but really that's what's happening. We are going to move. The baby, when it's time for it to be born, is going to be born. The chicken doesn't get to stay in the egg. The caterpillar doesn't get to just not melt down and just go back to its caterpillar life. There's no going back to normal, because what was normal then in the gestation stage is not at all what's normal in the stage that's coming in. Okay, so we're not going back to normal. We're going forward to a miraculous normal, a new state, a different nature of nature. I don't like to say new normal because there's kind of a branding around that. That's like, oh, let's get used to living with tension and fear and judgment. No. That's part of the meltdown. What is the new normal? It's a world of good. It's a divine world of good. And it's a world of your powers coming online. Your power to heal with your thoughts, your power to experience divinity, regardless of how you were brought up and what your prejudices are. And, like as the famous story with the sage, Rev Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, when the atheist said to him, I don't believe in a God that would, like the one that I was brought up with. And the sage said to him, the God you don't believe in, I don't believe in either. God is not that. God is infinite, unknowable, ever present, all there is, divine consciousness, creating and uncreating and wanting you as its partner, loving you intimately, wanting to work with you to heal you and everything. And that's really, who do you have to be? What do you have to let go of? And what do you have to take on in order for that to be the new reality starting Rosh Hashanah? How are you going to usher that in? What corrections and upgrades need to be made? What consciousness needs to be brought online? And that's really the question here. Okay, I'm going to leave it at this. Thank you for your attention and your patience. Again, please like, share, and I really want to hear where you're at, whether you're listening to this live or by replay. It's really, really important for me to get that feedback, to know what you need more of, and just to understand from you, we're in this together, what's happening here. Last but not least, and one final plug, to check out the Empowered Prayer Project. The link below is to the Telegram group. There's also, I should put this on my next video, but there's also a sign-up page where you can hear the Zoom that I did a week or two ago that explains the project, and it's all free. And not only that, but it's going to produce miracles. It already is. So hope that you'll be part of that, and sending love and blessings for an amazing Sima Tova Lashana Tova Masuka. You should be written and sealed in the book of life for a truly good and a truly sweet and a truly wondrous new year. It's time. Take care.